When I screen entry-level cybersecurity resumes, I can usually tell within seconds which candidates have evidence and which ones just have certificates. That is not an exaggeration. That is what screening actually looks like from my side of the table. And if you do not have cybersecurity work experience yet, that is the game you're in. You need evidence, not hype, not vague passion, not a resume that says you're highly motivated and interested in cyber. You need evidence, because when a recruiter or hiring manager looks at an early career candidate, the question is not just have they studied. The question is, why should I believe they can become useful in this role? A certification can help, but it is rarely enough by itself. Today, I'm going to show you how to build evidence when you do not have the job title yet. This is Cyber Careers with Luke Gough. I'm Luke Gough, a working cybersecurity recruiter and career coach, and this is the show where I answer cyber career questions from the recruiter side of the table. Today we're talking about projects, labs, portfolios, and practical proof. So let's talk about what evidence actually means. Well, evidence means proof that you have engaged with the work. It doesn't mean you need to pretend you have commercial experience when you don't. You do not do that. It means you can show that you understand the basics, you can follow a process, you can learn tools, document your thinking, and you can explain what you did. For a beginner, evidence might be a lab, it might be a write-up, maybe a risk register, or a phishing analysis. It might even be a short GitHub project, or a LinkedIn post explaining what you learned. But the key is relevance. A random project is less useful than a simple project aligned to the role you want. So let's talk about the recruiter's test. If I open your resume, can I quickly understand what role you're targeting and see at least one proof point that supports it? So let's take SOC analyst as the example. If you're targeting SOC, I want to see something around logs, alerts, incident triage, phishing, endpoint, networking, or SIEM. Something that shows you have touched the kind of work that the job actually involves. Now, the same test applies to every lane, whether that's GRC, risk, controls, frameworks, audit evidence, IAM, user lifecycle, cloud security. It applies to every lane. I will break down specific project ideas for each of those lanes in a few minutes. For now, the rule is simple. What does not count enough? So let's talk about that. Well, watching videos doesn't count enough. Starting a course doesn't count enough. Listing a platform without explaining what you completed doesn't count enough. Or writing home labs on your resume with no detail doesn't count enough. Here is the classic version of this, and it's a pattern I see consistently. Picture a resume, solid education section, a certification in progress, and then a one line that says home lab. That's it. 2 words. There's no detail on what was built, what was found, or what was learned. Now, as a recruiter, I can't do anything with that line. I can't verify it, I can't picture it, and I cannot sell it to a hiring manager. The mistake is thinking the activity is the evidence when it's not. The evidence is the documented output, which is what did you build, what did you analyze, or what did you learn, and what would you do differently? What does this show about your ability to do the target role? So how many projects is enough to start? I would say 3. You don't need 20 projects. For most beginners, 3 clean proof points are enough to start applying more seriously. 1 foundation project, 1 role-specific project, and 1 communication piece. So let's take SOC again. That could be a basic SIEM or log analysis lab. It could be a phishing email analyst write-up. It could be a short LinkedIn post explaining how you investigated failed login events. For GRC, that could be a sample risk register or a control mapping against the Essential 8 here in Australia or ISO 27001 concepts elsewhere. A short plain English post explaining one security control and why it matters. Now, for IAM, which is a very popular area in cyber at the moment, lots of people are asking about this. So for IAM, that could be a sample user access review, a least privilege write-up, or even a simple diagram of onboarding and offboarding risks. Cloud security, let's talk about that. It could be a basic cloud account hardening checklist. It could be a misconfigured storage or identity scenario in a lab environment, or a write-up explaining what login you enabled and why. The key is to keep it simple, make it clear, and most of all, make it relevant. So how do you document a project? Well, use a consistent structure. First, the problem. What are you trying to understand or solve? Second, the environment. What tools or setup did you use? Third, the steps, which is what did you do? Fourth, the finding. What did you notice? Fifth, the lesson. What did you learn? And sixth, the role connection. How does this connect to the job you're targeting? Now, the last part is important. Do not make the recruiter guess. A good project write-up does not need to be long. 1 or 2 pages can be enough. Screenshots can help if they do not expose anything sensitive. But the writing should be clear, not clever. Now, in terms of your resume, you need to look at your resume bullet points. And here's how to write the projects on there. Now, a weak version would be something like, built a Splunk lab. Whereas a better version could be, built a basic Splunk lab to ingest Windows event logs, review failed login patterns, and document how repeated authentication failures could be triaged in a SOC workflow. Let's give you another one. A weak version, which I see a lot, completed TryHackMe. I mean, that's great that people have done that, but that's not what you put on your resume. You need to do more. So a better version, completed beginner defensive security modules covering Linux basics, network traffic concepts, and log review. Then wrote 3 short summaries connecting lessons to SOC analyst tasks. One more example. A weak version could be created a risk register. A better version, I created a sample cybersecurity risk register for a small business scenario, mapping risks to controls, owners, likelihood, impact, and treatment actions. Specific always beats impressive. Now, what I tell my clients is have a plan. And let's talk about a 30-day plan on how to do this. Week 1, pick the lane. I want you to choose SOC, GRC, IAM, or cloud security, for example, for the next 30 days. Not forever, just for focus. I want you to read 10 job ads and identify the repeated evidence. Week 2, build one small project. Don't overbuild. Choose a project that you can actually finish. I'd rather you do a small finished project. That beats an ambitious half-built one. Week 3, document it. Write the project up clearly, add screenshots if useful, put it somewhere accessible. GitHub, a simple portfolio, a Notion page, LinkedIn article, all of these can work. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you write it up. Week 4, this is where you package it. So add a project bullet to your resume. Update LinkedIn, write 1 short post about what you learned, then apply to a small number of realistic roles with a tailored resume. And notice how I said tailored there, that's key. That is how evidence starts to compound. Now, one more thing, communication is part of the evidence. So if you can explain a technical topic clearly, that matters. If you can write a clean project note, that matters. If you can explain why a control reduces risk, that also matters. Cybersecurity is not just doing things in a lab, it's helping other people understand risk, understand incidents, systems, and decisions. Remember, if you're dealing with stakeholders in the business, most of them won't understand technical jargon. So you need to be able to explain things clearly to a non-technical person to help them understand what's happening. And that's where soft skills is so key and critical in cyber. A candidate who can learn and explain will often beat a candidate who only lists tools. And this is the pattern I see again and again with the people I coach. The ones who get traction are a lot of the time never the ones with the most advanced projects. They're the ones with 1 or 2 small, finished, clearly explained proof points that a recruiter can understand in 30 seconds. Now we're at the part where I like to do a bonus Q&A at the end of these podcasts. It's questions I get all the time from the people I coach and from my YouTube comments on this exact topic. Now, going forward, if you have any questions that want answered, click the link in the description, submit your question, and I'll make sure I look at it for you. Question 1. Should I put beginner projects on my resume? Yes, if they're relevant and documented properly, absolutely. Don't exaggerate them. Label them as projects, but include them if they support the target role. Question 2. Where should I host projects? GitHub is useful for technical work. A simple portfolio or Notion page can work for write-ups. LinkedIn can work for short learning posts. Use whatever makes the work easy to access and easy to understand. This isn't about making it look absolutely fantastic. It's about being easy to read, clear, and getting to the point of what you're trying to get across. It's about showing the hiring manager and the recruiters what you can actually do. Question 3. How many projects before applying? Well, you can apply while building, but I would want at least 1 clean proof point before serious applications. As I said earlier in the pod, 3 is better, but having 1, you can start. Question 4. What if my projects are basic? Look, that's fine. You're a beginner. Remember, you're not applying for roles where they're expecting years and years of experience. You're a beginner. So basic and well explained is better than advanced and confused. The key thing is just doing one, getting out there, making a portfolio, doing projects and documenting them. So if you do not have cyber work experience, then build evidence. Pick a lane, build one small project, document it, put it somewhere visible. Translate it onto your resume and then keep going. I hope you found this helpful. If you have a question for a future episode, send it through the form in the show notes. And if you want to help choosing the right projects for your target role, my coaching link is there too. Thanks for listening. Follow Cyber Careers so you don't miss the next episode. And as always, keep leveling up your career.